Welcome to another Ask Arlington. I'm Jay Warren, the city's marketing and communications manager. Ask Arlington is a show that's dedicated to answering the questions you have about what's happening here in our city. And on this episode, we'll be focusing on the 7 proposed Texas constitutional amendments on the November ballot. Here to help us do that is State Representative Matt Krause, who represents District 93, as well as State Representative Chris Turner, who represents District 101. And gentlemen, thanks for being with us today. We really do appreciate having you here.
Thanks for having us.
You know, we post these questions on Facebook because we wanted to get people's input about these things. And typically, as we know, these ballot initiatives don't get as much attention as they normally would. So we got a few questions, and we wanted to have both of you kind of go through those with us today, if you're
Terrific.
willing. So we
Absolutely.
appreciate that. Great. Well, the first one is Proposition 1, so let's talk a little bit about it. If approved, Proposition 1 would change the homestead exemption amount for school district property taxes from $15,000 to $25,000. This is primarily for, if I understand it correctly, elderly folks and also people with disabilities. Am I getting that close to?
Well, Prop 1 is for any homeowner in Texas. And so what we've heard continually, I think both of us have heard from our constituents, everybody across the state, is our property taxes are too high. And so the state legislature doesn't have a lot to say over your property tax because a lot of that takes place at the local level. But what we wanted to do, one place we can help, is increase that homestead exemption, like we said, from $15,000 to $25,000. You're not going to see a huge reduction in your property taxes, but it will give you some property relief, and it's something that we felt like we needed to do because we heard from so many people that this is a big issue in Texas.
Well, that was the first question we got. We got 2 actually on this one, and you gave a good representative of that, I think. This question was from Dean, which was simply, explain this for us, and I like that. The second question we got, and Representative Turner, maybe can you jump in here on this one, because this was a little different in terms of, and Becca wanted to know more about this one. She asked, Proposition 1 doesn't help those of us who live in Arlington because they pay for Mansfield schools down there, and they say that there's a difference between the exemption that's offered in Mansfield and in Arlington. Can you kind of go through that with us?
Yeah, well, and we looked at that, and as Representative Krause said, that this homestead exemption is going to help everybody in the state who is a homeowner. And whether you live in Arlington and Arlington ISD or Arlington and Mansfield ISD, it will affect you the same way. The difference between Arlington ISD and Mansfield ISD is the tax rates are different. And so therefore in Mansfield ISD there's been a lot of new construction over the last 10, 15 years, and so there's more bond obligations there to pay off. So the tax rates are a little bit higher, but the homestead exemption right now in both school districts is $15,000 set by the state. If Proposition 1 passes, they'll both be $25,000.
Okay, so there may be some variations from community to community, but that standard that you just mentioned there will be the same no matter where you live.
That's right. Most school districts have different tax rates just depending on what their circumstances are.
That's right. Well, let's turn now to Proposition 2, and this one would exempt property from taxation for surviving spouses of totally disabled veterans. Can you tell us a little bit more about that one, Representative Krause?
Sure. In 2009, the legislature passed a law that said if your spouse is killed serving our country or 100% disabled, then you get a freeze on your property taxes. And so from 2009 on, they've had that opportunity. We kind of felt if you're going to pay the ultimate price for your country or been hurt in the service of your country up to 100%, that we also need to extend that to anybody before 2009. So what this constitutional amendment will do is allow those people before 2009 who would have been affected by the law to get the same benefit that those after 2009 have.
All right. Proposition 3, and Representative Turner, will go to you for this one. This would repeal the requirement that certain executive officials reside in the state capital of Austin while in office. I think most people might be a little surprised to know that was actually a requirement to begin with. Walk us through the rationale behind this one.
Yeah. Well, and this affects offices apart from the governor. The governor's addressed separately in the Constitution, so this would be like the comptroller, lane commissioner, those types of offices. And I think the thinking has been up until this point that the state capitol is in Austin. These are statewide officials with statewide responsibilities. They need to be there in the capital where their agencies are headquartered. I think proponents of this amendment argue, well, now with travel being so relatively convenient and easy and the age of the internet and cell phones, that you don't have to physically be in Austin at all times. But the those agencies are still headquartered there, and that's where their employees are. So some people think that they should be there where the majority of their employees are. But that's what that amendment does.
Plus, we're also seeing the area around Austin grow out so much that the suburbs almost feel like you're in Austin too. So it would allow people to live in one of those suburban areas, I suppose, but also be a statewide office holder.
This is true, absolutely.
Okay. Well, let's go to Proposition 4 now, and this would allow professional sports teams, charitable foundations to conduct charitable raffles in their area. Of course, we have two of those here,
That's
the
right.
Rangers, which just made it to the playoffs,
That's
which we're
exactly
happy to
right.
see, and also the Dallas Cowboys. So walk us through this. They can't do that currently, I guess?
Well, and I'm blessed to represent both the ballpark and AT&T Stadium in my district, so this is an issue that I've dealt with a lot. And right now, sports franchises are allowed 2 raffles a year, and they can only raffle off real property. And so what this would allow the franchises to do as many raffles as they want to and use cash prizes and real property. And the sports franchises came to the legislature to say, we could be doing a lot of good with this money, especially now with the Rangers playing more than 162 games. This allows them, all the people coming into the stadium a couple years ago when the explosion happened in West Texas, they said they were really wanting to do something for that community. This would have allowed them to do that. So basically this allows major sports franchises the ability to do as many raffles as they want to. The money then goes to the foundation. So it's not used to pay for players or personnel. It's only for the charitable arm of these sports franchises to pour back into the community and help them out.
Okay. Proposition 5, and Representative Turner, will go to you for this one. This would authorize counties with 7,500 people or less to perform private road construction and maintenance. They're not able to do this now.
Yes. They're not, and as the question indicated, this doesn't affect any of us in Tarrant County because we have a lot more than 7,500 people here in our county. But for the relatively few counties in our state that are that low in population with less than 7,500 people, it would allow their counties to do private road construction or maintenance if the private entity pays the taxpayers back for it.
This would be really significant, I guess, if you're far out in West Texas.
Exactly. If you're out in the Big Bend area or places like that, this might be something that's really important to you. So it doesn't affect us directly, but it's something that we could support to help our rural neighbors.
All right, well, let's go to Proposition 6 now. Representative Krause, we did receive a question from a resident on this one. Now, this would recognize the right to hunt, fish, and harvest wildlife. Recognize the right, not saying that the right doesn't already exist, but recognize it.
That's right.
And we got a question from Ryder Mansfield who wants to know more about this. He thought everyone already had the right to hunt and fish. So how would this change, or would it change at all with Proposition 6?
Right, and Jay, I think you said it best. It's not giving you the right, it's just recognizing that right. And so we do have that. We've seen in other states that sometimes regulations have become so restrictive or overburdensome that it's restricted the right to hunt and fish and to harvest wildlife in some of those places. So Texas is just trying to get out in front of that to make sure that we say, you know what, this is kind of a heritage of Texas to be able to do that. We want to make sure that it's constitutionally protected. So hunting, fishing, harvesting wildlife, all within the constraints of conserving the land as best we can. We just want to make sure that Texas puts that in the Constitution for further strengthening of recognizing that right.
Well, no question, those are activities that are very important to Texans.
That's right.
And have been for generations.
That's
for
right.
Sure. Well, our last proposition, this is Proposition number 7, and this would allocate a portion of sales and use tax revenue to the State Highway Fund through the year 2032. Representative Turner, let's go to you on that one. And we know roads are an important issue, particularly here in the Metroplex. Right. Walk us through that. Yeah,
this is a really important one. Proposition 7, if passed, will provide a significant additional funding to the Texas Department of Transportation beginning in the year 2020. And combined with Proposition 1, which the voters passed last year, if this passes, this will get us closer to what TxDOT needs to be able to keep up with ongoing maintenance and construction by taking a portion of sales and tax use revenue as well as a portion of the motor vehicle sales tax and dedicating that to transportation. Here locally, that could help us accelerate projects such as the widening of 360 between 20 and I-30 and other needed projects in North Texas.
Yeah. Certainly there is a lot of need here in Arlington for sure, and in fact one of our City Council priorities is enhancing regional mobility, so something like this could have a large impact in that.
Absolutely.
It certainly could.
Well, gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. That was a great kind of synopsis. We got a brief overview of all 7 of those in a short amount of time, so that was really helpful. We thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And that is all the time we have for now. Thanks to you at home for sending us those questions. They were very helpful, and that's going to do it for this week's Ask Arlington. Tune in next time where we'll answer more of your questions.